Welcome to the Steak Knife Show. This is episode number
Oh shit.
4.
Is it 4?
It's the 4th one.
It's my favorite number.
4? 4 divided by 2. What?
Okay. I
Yeah.
already failed all 4 years of high school math. Then there's 16 concussions. This is a poor way to open this show.
So really what we want to talk about today is the danger of group tactics. And if you've watched this show before, you know this is not simply we're going to sit here in these chairs and only talk about it. Today we didn't have we were going to invite some people over to show and tell, but that's going to be something that we deal with next time. We are going to get some people in here and we're going to start talking about some of the dangers and some of the ways to mitigate danger in a group, especially on hard surfaces. Remember, guys, there's no mats out there. There's no even this carpet would be better than bare concrete, but there's concrete under this carpet.
You know what's not?
What?
Jesus, the seclusion padded room. Oh, it's a padded room.
Yeah.
I have never seen more injuries come from a place.
So to give some context is what he's referencing. Sometimes in a hospital setting, they make specialty rooms that allow somebody to be secluded away from all stimuli, and to protect that person, they actually pad the walls. And padding is deceiving. It's a specialty application that's supposed to be durable over years and years and years.
Porous. And you touch it, and like if you have any,
there's give.
If you have any kind of context of like,
mats like the mats we have over here.
Not just mats, but like, it is almost a guaranteed concussion.
Oh, for sure.
Any kind of impact. I think that's one of the number one places our guys get concussed is the padded room.
So in a group, I think, like one of the big areas that we've seen contact concussions is head to head, like not like meaning like head to head with each other. They're taking somebody down and they meet head to head.
I've always seen where they hit their head on the wall or
on the wall. Like kind of breaking it back to the tactics. Like there is a risk of concussion in a group tactics because you have people driving. Like you have bigger people. Like as a bigger person, I'm not saying I haven't driven the group at a pace that may not have been beneficial for everyone. So that's one of the issues. Give me some of your thoughts on how to mitigate that with communication.
Yeah, that's really where we're at. It's like once you have a group, it becomes about communication. And like it can't be stressed enough. And it's something that we'll stop multiple times while teaching. Like, hey, once you get some form of control, start to talk to your partner. Are you helping or are you hurting? And communication is always best. It's something that I've really found, and especially in the past year.
We're back. So we were talking about being freaked out. Black Magic, I love you. For some reason, your camera app kicked us into Apple ProRes H422. You have no idea what that means, and that's
those
fine.
Are words.
Them's his words. So we're talking about like if you get on scene and like you freak out, that's gonna taint the response of the group as well.
But like something that I learned from working with you is like rotating out the initial, even if he's doing a great job, even if he didn't do anything wrong, because this violent interaction happened, it's now attached to him or her, right?
It can be.
And so when we rotate them out, I notice it takes, I don't know what you want to call it, the aggro from like staff. They switch from being, whether we were in the right or in the wrong, they switch into their medical field of taking care of everybody.
Sometimes, right? Like a lot of times that'll alleviate, and that can be used as like a bystander method as well. Although I don't know that agencies outside of ours have the manpower to rotate like that. So that's kind of a timing, but it's also a luxury that we have that some agencies don't have. I mean, you work for a small.
Never alone.
No, well, like you work for a small agency before, and that meaning like your backup is like across the county, not across the hallway or a floor away.
Well, my most violent call as a police officer where I was struggling over my gun, the response time was
bad on a small campus.
You had 6 like blocks, city blocks of jurisdiction because it was a small community college.
Yeah.
And like the response, they couldn't find me. We were in an alleyway. We were tucked. Like they couldn't find me. Mm-hmm. And you really start to like put together, like always hold on to the fact that amateur MMA rounds are 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Pro MMA rounds are 5 minutes. And I can tell you, having trained for both things, 6-week training camp where you understand the time limit, you are so thankful that those rounds have come to an end. And in a true situation, the true situation of violence in the real world, most are over and done with in under a minute.
Yeah.
Anything prolonging 45 seconds, most people's gas tanks are...
And it's really like most explosive violence from the subject or the person who's being violent that you're responding to ends very quickly. You have the rarity, like somebody with a really good gas tank or somebody who is not even necessarily a combat athlete, but potentially like a lower collegiate level or high school person who's like not truly young, but they just finished high school and now they're out on the street and they've had their first problem.
Or, you know, a true mental break.
That's what I mean. Like their first problem isn't like a true mental health crisis.
But like, you know, I've seen people who shouldn't have been able to fight as long as they did, but because their mind-body disconnect, they're able to go beyond their limits.
Very true. So let's take back to policing for you.
Okay.
Because it's something that we've heard is kind of a common problem amongst people we like have anecdotal conversations with, people that teach other places. We've talked to them and they say one of the biggest areas of injury is the group.
The pig pile.
The pig pile, like for lack of a better term, we're not calling anybody a pig. It's just the term we're using as like, that's what it looks like. It looks like a pile, this fight. It's a pack of humans just dumping on potentially one human. And there's no concern for the bodies of your partners because it's like, oh, Billy will take care of himself. Like, no, Billy won't. Well, like an outside force is acting.
We had a female officer whose knee almost got reversed because our pile rolled over onto her.
Yeah, you have issues like that. Like you have somebody enacting a takedown.
We were on the ground. We were already on the ground, and then they gator rolled. Our pile shifted, and she got sucked under.
That's right.
He started to reverse, and like
also a problem.
So, in terms of if you want to talk about like law enforcement and like what I'm 10 years, right? 3 years for law enforcement. You have underwhelming training, like not enough time. There is no carry forward once you're on the road. In fact, it's almost you're almost laughed at. Like when you talk about we need consistent training. It's the logistics of how do you, and then most injuries come from training. So everybody's like, oh, let's like, if we're going to lose them, let's lose them in the line of duty. Right. But like there's
which you don't want that either. Like,
there's no refinement and there's no learning. Right. And it's probably the most perishable skill.
They've actually done studies. Don't remember what they're called right off the top of my head, but they've done studies from academy to the first year on the road, specifically to police, not us, but it's such a similar field as far as finite physical skills that the loss is incredible. Like they're basically saying like you're 5 weeks out of an academy, all of your physical skills have diminished to the point of almost not being repeatable.
Right. And then so you have that. And then so like you have it's diminished to not being repeatable, right? Because you're not getting active reps. Then you have the fact that like hyper complex skills like handcuffing. Handcuffing is such
super
it
difficult.
Is not just difficult, it is dangerous. They are horrific instruments.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand why we haven't switched to zip ties. Like
it's an argument for another day.
I guess maybe the plastic, maybe you're worried about the world. I don't know, but like they're like handcuffs are one of the most dangerous tools on a belt. And that's just if they're in the case and you fall on them and you have them placed in the wrong section.
That's true. Yeah, we're not even taking them out. Yeah.
Or worse, you take these like they're incredibly sharp and have horrific puncture wounds that are hard to stitch up and heal right. And you're attaching it to somebody that still act like the rush to put people in handcuffs without them being exhausted or under control.
And that goes back to being a part of a problem in a group. It's because of that short cycling of training. As the individual, yes, putting somebody in handcuffs would be super helpful. And then you get the group there and it's the rush to get them in the handcuffs as a group. I'm a shaved ape in a shirt, to quote Jeremy Clarkson.
You look like that, but you don't have the
orangutango. Yeah.
he will slap me on the back of my arm, and it's literally a tag out. It's no words needed. Go hold perimeter. Get out of here. Like, you're too invested. You're too lost in this. You're not making any headway.
No matter what kind of uniform you wear, you are being exposed as a group to a part of the population that's not normal.
To a fringe. Or to people not at their best.
You're essentially taking two fringes of the population and having a conversation, and that usually doesn't go well.
Well, and
because you're looking at sometimes people who don't want any authority in their life or having a crisis to the symbol culturally of authority.
Well, and it's, if you're going to talk about like those things, you talk about, you were in the military, I wasn't, but like law enforcement, security, right?
Yeah.
When we show up, it's almost always a negative experience, right? Group tactics, because we are off topic a bunch today.
Technical difficulties got us off topic.
Yeah, more just group tactics. So the big thing is slow down, communicate, have multiple plans, and then understand that even if you have plans A to Z, like it might not follow through. Oh, what's happening, Tim? Oh, coffee. I'm trying. I'm very distracted. Is everything running correctly?
Yes, it is.
Perfect.
We're good.
Great.
I need my bean juice.
So communication, slow down, understand that you don't need to rush into some kind of restraint or handcuffing, and be adaptive. I know like this is always going to round out to like be adaptive, be able to make some things on the fly. Another thing is make decisions, support the person that's making a decision. Even if I don't agree with you, you have made a hard decision and it does us no good to try to pivot now. Like
No, unless there's just something that's completely missed.
And even then, like
it goes back to something we said about giving ground. Giving ground can be a
teamwork
giving ground. We talked about it when we talked about not having an ego in a violent situation. Like people think giving ground in a violent situation is bad. It's a flexible concept. I listened back to something we had said earlier, and I kind of want to clarify. There's a time not to give ground, and there's a time to give ground.
Yeah,
it is just like there. Yeah, it is just. It's one of those things like people are like, oh, he like you're giving this like final answer. There is no final answer. There's no final answer.
So
in a violent situation, yes,
it's such an organic, like feeled out thing. Like
yes,
like there's a time where somebody's like they're checking, and it might be like a respect check, but like if you don't read it right, it could turn very violent. Like the story that you and Miker had the other day about him walking with Janetti.
Yeah,
them being hyped up because a potential situation could be happening. Like they got split, but it's just two dudes walking.
Yeah, two random people walking, and one of them was having one of them was just MRDD or like whatever. And
it's very much it's also a very common tactic to like split your attention.
Yep.
And that's something that Jason Apt hasn't memorized. I loved listening to him talk about it. But like when people try to beat you or assault you, the first thing they assault is your spirit, your will, your respect.
Yeah.
Right? How much are you willing to give up? How much are you willing to like cower, terrify, comply with? Right?
Yeah.
And something we told our students, like, don't ever comply. Don't, especially like secondary locations or leaving with somebody. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you got to draw your line of sand. And it's something that like I do that I think has paid dividends in training other officers is like, hey, I need you to do this. We're going to do this. And then I make them do it, right? You get 2 strikes and then I'll do it for you.
Yep.
And that's my line in the sand. If you step forward, like they're not, like you should have an edge. You should be a little worried at every interaction when you're wearing a uniform. Even when I'm buying food and I'm having cordial interactions, I'm a little concerned.
Yeah, you don't, and people are like, oh my gosh, you just walk around paranoid at the time?
Kind of.
There's a difference.
There's an awareness. It's not paranoia.
Is just because culturally where we're at and with what's going on and what has gone on, there's a lot of, as soon as you put the uniform on, you walk out of your house, and if you're obviously in a uniform, you are to a degree in some kind of danger. And like there's that oh, you can't live like that.
I don't know if it's danger. You aren't able to blend in. You stand out.
Yeah, you're not. I've walked around in plain clothes before, and I've had somebody come up and be like, "Oh, you look like this. Can you help me?" And I'm like, so I went to my wife and I was like, "Do I look like that?" And she's like, "Absolutely."
I was like, yourself in a very
okay,
put together. Like if I like, I would assume that my 10-year-old, my 8-year-old would approach you, be like, "You look like you might know an answer." Like,
okay.
right? Like, I mean, some people just carry themselves that way.
Yeah. I guess it's not a terrible thing. It's just funny.
It's just, but like,
I pick him out of a lineup anywhere. He's definitely something. Great, cool. Yeah.
You address the fact that you look like a shaved monkey.
A shaved ape in a shit.
God, we're getting off group tactics.
It's fine.
Group tactics is such a weird one because I know you want to do the show and tell parts.
Is this personal experience? What group tactic is this? I want to know.
Yeah,
This isn't from work either. Yeah, myth busting. Yeah,
like it's just a lot of movie stuff. But like choking somebody unconscious is not going to kill them. With the way you set them to the ground, or if you hold it too long, or if you're violent, like wrenching like a dog, and because they're relaxed, you snap something in their neck, you tear an aorta or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's real. But like the movie thing of like a 2-second choke and they're dead. That's not how it works, guys. Like,
yeah, or being able to wrench a fully conscious person's neck to the point of breaking.
No, but unconscious.
Unconscious. Oh yeah.
Oh, for sure. Put them to sleep and then break them.
Right. Shh, don't tell all the secrets.
I'm sorry, Marine. Am I giving it away?
No, they don't teach that to Marines. All of them would be dead. They'd be like, "I tried it on my buddy. He died." Like,
died as he lived, man.
Yeah.
Anyway,
with a broken neck. That's a group tactic. Broken neck. Group tactic. Sometimes within the group of people that are there to do that thing. I'm not talking about outside staff. I'm talking about people in uniform. You get, "Oh, you were just too violent," but you weren't there. You weren't there until this point, and you didn't see what happened. So I overwhelmed them, controlled them, and made sure that they were safe so that we didn't have to actually hurt them or actually do something so violent that I would be in more danger or they would.
Yeah. It's kind of like, the one right now that floats around just from people who haven't seen it is like, well, why didn't you guys tase them? You understand, if I tase this person, I'm not going to be able to close the distance and keep them from crashing their head onto the concrete. They're going to fall and hit their head. Yeah. Why? They're like, well, I just don't understand. Well, it just seems safer to tase them.
It's definitely not.
And then
no, tasing is such a difficult skill.
And then on top of what's up?
Just keep going.
Oh, on top of that, like you have, so I could tase them, or I could violently close the distance, with like a crash helmet, and then gain control of the limb while the rest of our squad kind of like melts onto them. Right?
Yeah,
and we get them to the ground, put them in the modified recovery position. Really, they're no longer athletic or mobile.
No, they're not, and it's really hard. And maybe that's something we can discuss too, is like explaining why certain things don't happen, like in violence, like people like, just go to a tool, go to this thing on your belt, and like those things on the belt are circumstantial at best. Yeah,
great. Like, what a great group tactic. Like, that was perfect, perfectly executed.
So let's kind of like coalesce into like an ending here. But what do you want to show? What things can we show?
Got him.
You mean so when we do the show part of this part? I don't know. Like, that's something. I think you're just going to see that. But like, really, you'll just hopefully, I'm hoping that you'll see like the communication, the slowdown. What is really happening is like, our unit is, we're trying to drive them towards weighting down somebody's limbs and letting them exhaust themselves. We're not in any rush, but like, you're just going to see like us weighing heavy, gaining control of a limb and weighing heavy. And if we lose control of that limb, we transition to a better form of control where we're minimizing damage. We're not saying that you're not going to get hit. We're not saying that something bad's not going to happen.
Right.
But are we protecting each other? Are we minimizing damage? We're not here to hurt them.
Correct.
We're here to exhaust them and control them.
Yeah, and that's in the public safety world or realm, that's, I think, where a lot of the disconnect is too, because even some of the people in uniform are not attached to like truly violent situations, and they don't have the opportunity to. I'm kind of giving them out. I'm not going to give them an out. They don't take the time to train. I understand everybody's life is busy, ours included, but sometimes they don't take the opportunity to train, and I'll join that group of people saying, get out and train when you can. It's super important. But having yourself pressure tested against certain areas, like we've talked about in previous episodes, is super important. Then being able to bring it into the group so that everybody can operate off the calm page of, hey, we all train, now we're training together, is
you start to see how people
massively. Yes. Yes.
Some people like to hold limbs. Some people like to tie restraints. Yep. Some people are masterful at handcuffing. Some people are masterful at building a verbal judo rapport with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
But at the end of the day, they all have to be able to control that individual as a group.
Yeah, and work as
without injuring each other.
Yeah, and you want it. The more you train, the more seamless it becomes. In terms of like, you said something earlier, like we want to violently overwhelm the subject, right?
Yeah, and I don't mean hurt them. What I mean is
like that's what most people who don't train think you.
I know. Like, you're right. They do.
Like, oh, like I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna knee him in the peroneal, or I'm gonna like snap him down, or I'm gonna hit a big slam.
Yeah.
Like I think the worst that I've ever seen is like an officer. It does some kind of like once a year training. Somehow gets to a pretty okay position, maybe guard, maybe mount, and they get rolled and they get put underneath, and they can't get the person off of them. And you see the panic, like you can visually watch the panic and the exhaustion build. Yeah. Like, because they were never put here. They never stress tested it. They have nothing in their bag to reach for. Like, and like that's where you get like unnecessary injury, unnecessary death. And like, it's such a weird thing to talk about because like, it's immediately going to be flagged. It's like, you're throwing stones. Kind of. I kind of am. Like, this was avoidable.
We know we're in a shit covered glass house. Yeah, we're not saying we're not.
And that.
What we're saying is we're all in this together.
I mean, probably. Like, it was probably avoidable at some point. Like,
it very well may be.
Yeah, it very well may be.
If you're wondering what I'm doing, we had a technical issue. I was just making sure that
you're being hyper aware of it.
Yes, I am, because I couldn't get the other technical piece that we normally use, so I can just sit here. So if it's weird that I'm leaving, it's not. We're gonna fix it next time. Just throwing my timing off, boss.
But like again, like it's such a weird thing. Like and like the Monday morning quarterbacking. Like I would have done this. Okay, like yes, like you can't, and I will never say that you can control facets of a dynamic situation, right? Especially something like violence. Like it is literally you're attempting to bottle chaos, and it's just not going to happen. You have to ride the wave of it.
Are there things that you taught in that kind of truly sterile environment that got blown out of the water because you got to apply them?
Dogs. Puppy dogs.
Dogs. Hi. Oh. Hi, girls. Hi. Those are our dogs.
Those are
not his and mine.
They're not,
but yeah.
Maybe. I'm kidding, Rachel. If you ever watch this.
But what's... I think there's a few you kind of talked to me about, but like I don't remember off the top of my head. Like, what are some concepts that like you built because there was like kind of that gap where you weren't putting your hands on people every day? Is there anything that kind of got like blown out of the water?
One was sacrificial takedowns.
Yeah.
Right.
Terrible.
Even in a self-defense setting where we had mats down.
Yeah.
Look great, everything, and then
like essentially what you're saying is like. Pull them into guard.
Pull guard or like a true German suplex.
Yeah.
Like we taught these concussions. The concussions have stolen it. Oh no. Jason's going to kick me for not remembering this one. It's whiplash is taken. It's the German suplex. Like it's basically like you pick them up and you fall to the ground with them, right?
Yeah.
It's a big slam. But like on concrete, like we started to like kind of mess around with it and we were like, oh, their elbow is the first thing that hits the concrete, right? Or like a blast double leg where you drive your knee off the concrete, right? So like having the ability to like, I think this will work. And then you and I try it on the mats and then you and I kind of trickle out into other jiu-jitsu gyms and we try and we're like, oh, this might work. And then we get it on the concrete or we get it with somebody who's not training like us.
Yeah.
And they don't have that feel, right? And so like, you got to be careful of like, oh, this works in jiu-jitsu all the time, and it even works in competition. Okay, have you tried it on the concrete? Have you tried it wearing a gun?
Yeah.
Have you tried it wearing a vest? Have you tried it in polyester pants? Have you tried it with another person that is
what's going to happen to your knees and your elbows?
adding to like the story we told of like Noah. Like Noah's holding somebody and I can't sweep them.
Yeah.
This sweep works 100% of the time. And I can feel it. He's in position. We should be toppling. I can't see that Noah's waiting and pulling his hips back.
Yeah.
So like I'm basically just flexing my legs against a brick wall.
Yeah.
Like, and then finally Noah being like, hey, you can't sweep them.
Hips are locked. Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, I need to do a technical stand up.
Yeah.
Right. Like Noah's pulling him off so I can technically stand up. Right. And so like stuff like that has been the real grace period of like, not just the forward thinking of the Columbus State self-defense program, but like now getting to try it with you. Yeah. In under, our leadership, allowing us to kind of like reinvent the wheel of things. Like, is like, there's a time and a place and there's different applications of it.
Yeah.
But like, if you're not aware, you're not familiar with pain and like how to apply techniques, if you're just doing them. So it's why I always hate like people like, oh, like, can you show me a wrist lock? I heard that's really good. No, I absolutely will not show you a wrist lock, especially in law enforcement or security, because you one, don't train. Two, there is no real reason or a helpful thing that's going to do for you if you have no idea what you're doing.
Wrist locks for escorts are not truly beneficial.
No.
That's so. Speaking of group and going back to kind of like our main theme, I know we're about to wrap it up, but I unwrapped it again. Sorry.
I'm sure you can cut it into something.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. This is kind of a free-flowing show intentionally.
I thought this was more direct.
Like, it is, but it's
the dumpster dialogues. I'm so mad. That's such a better name than our show.
Yeah, our show makes sense. It's fine. Okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Where I've seen the most gap when I've interacted with police is initial contact physically. And it's something, what I mean is like that first touch, that first initial touch is typically something that in law enforcement, when I've interacted with newer police officers and even seasoned police officers, like I said, I'm not a cop, but I interact with them a lot. There's this whole idea of police of like space, distance, time, which I understand. But like when that decision comes, a lot of them don't have a basic tool to get control and escort. And I'm saying like they need to deal with a low level person, maybe, and like we're talking about handcuffing. In our area, handcuffing is kind of sliding by the wayside because of the appearance of it.
The detaining.
Yeah, the detaining for transport is kind of slidden by the wayside in some departments in our area.
I honestly was, I've been shocked at how many times they're bringing in a combative and they open their back door and the person is
completely. Yeah.
That's wild. Like, especially because like where that initially came from was it the 70s? Two detectives got shot because they put somebody in their back seat and the dude had a hidden gun. Yeah. And you see it, there's some videos that float around, like there's a kid who killed himself in the back of the cruiser.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Searched, and like everybody like is like, oh, like he wasn't properly searched. Sometimes like you just like it's hard to search people. Like,
well, the other thing too, and to be a complete nerd about it, you're limited by Terry versus Ohio. You're limited by what an actual Terry pat down is as a police officer. Yeah. So that is a thing because you're only allowed to do the outermost layer. But what I'm saying is, the limited interactions I've had with police, meaning not like in the negative sense, just like watching them conduct themselves or training with them, it seems like there's a huge gap as a group of what do you do initially? And it's even a question we get asked all the time, and we have so much more exposure to those close-up, extreme close quarters contact with people as a group, or even as like, I say a group, even like a duo, like if you and I go to something, we know that there's always the potential to touch. And so we talk about not being afraid to make that initial contact. And I mean something even as simple as like, hey man, we're going to walk.
Yeah.
And
it gives you a good read. Right?
Yeah.
Because they could be like, don't touch me, I know my rights. Like,
right.
this is an assault. Well, yeah. No,
Not really,
But
yeah.
okay. But getting comfortable with stuff like that. I guess in terms of like something that I always did, because I was one of those officers, like where I was.
So let's frame it in the context of you and I go to a call.
Okay.
You're freshy fresh. Let's say let's role play.
In the dungeon.
Yeah, in the dungeon. First of all, just cheers, sir.
Don't know what that is.
It's the name of the
I
basement.
know what it is. I don't know what it is.
So we're approaching an individual and we're fully kitted out. We both have guns, and we're contacting this person. No, meaning like we're
Oh,
officers.
gotcha.
Like we're not our current role. We're role playing, sir.
What do you know that I don't know?
Yeah.
Shit.
Nothing. So we contact that person
Okay. What's the call?
and we're fresh both out of the academy. We've passed our FTO, and for some reason they're like, "Oh, those two idiots make it so."
Oh,
And we go out, yeah, that would be terrible.
Okay. And
We're out on the road.
Approaching this person.
Why are we approaching them?
What's the call?
Person walking down the side of the road with odd behavior, so suspicious person, and they're like, "Hey, he was acting weird. He threatened a couple passersby."
Oh, okay. So all right, and we pull up and we're gonna make contact, right?
Yeah.
So I guess what I would hope that they were taught.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd be like, hey sir, how are you doing? I'm Officer Foster. Like,
Right.
Just doing a wellness check. Some people were worried. Are you having a good day today? Just hey, I really need to talk to you for a sec. Have you been threatening people? And then we're probably about this far away, and the fidgeting starts happening, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh man.
I'm not even gonna go. Let's not say he's diving into his pockets. 'Cause
No,
that's another.
it's just kind of like you can tell he doesn't want to talk to us. Right?
yeah.
Like, he might not be in the best
Like,
mindset.
get away from me.
Or
I don't want to
he
talk
might
to
be in
you.
a crisis
Yeah.
and might need help, right?
Correct.
Hey, but it seems like you're really upset. Can you maybe have a seat for me? Like, you don't have to sit all the way down. Can you lean on my car? Like, just lean on
Yeah.
the car just for your safety and mine. Makes me more comfortable. Maybe it'll help you relax.
Yeah.
Because, like, we just need to make sure that you're doing okay because you've gotten more than a couple complaints. That, like, and the accuracy of descriptions. Let me pause right here. Like, my number one call as a police officer is, oh my God, I just tapped. Great. Who was it? It was a male, black or white, black hoodie, blue jeans.
Yeah.
That is not enough of a description.
Throw a rock.
Something more.
Throw a rock. We'll figure that one out.
I can't. I need something more than that.
Yeah.
So, make sure that you're giving good descriptions. So let's just assume that we were driving and we witnessed him acting erratically, right? Like, so that we're confirmed that this is our guy, right?
Yeah.
And like, what you want to do is just call displacement, right? Again, goes back to what you and I teach a lot. I want you unathletic. So if you explode, I'm ready, right? And then you see a lot of officers, I hope that they were not just drilled into, like, I'm not talking about an interview stance. Interview gives the idea that I see it, it's almost like they're almost standing like with posture and like ramrod straight. That is not athletic. I want like a partially shelled, like almost like it should almost feel like you at any moment you could pivot and play a sport.
Yeah.
Right? And
Absolutely.
that's how officers should be within 10 feet of somebody. Right? Now, as you get more comfortable and as you start to know your body more, as you train more, like you'll see me, like I'll be leaned against a wall.
But you're still athletic.
I am
The
athletic,
same thing.
right?
Yeah.
Like it's honestly how I lean on a wall in the cage when I'm doing cage work. Like I can do all the things I need to do, but like, and if I can, especially if I am a trained person in training fixers, I might even attempt to make it look like I'm displaced as well. Like I might lean on the hood of the car, but I'm still active. Trying to invite them to displace themselves, right? Sit in the grass. Can you lean against that fence? Can you lean on my car? Can you have a seat on the ground? Like we just figure some things out because we can't have you walking down the street threatening.
Yeah.
Can we get you some help? Do you need something?
Is that what happened? What's going on, man? Yeah.
For me, and everybody has their own thing. Like especially if they might look homeless or might look like they need just a little bit of comfort. Like, hey man, can I
help you? Yeah.
You want some coffee? Do you want a donut? We can go to Taco Bell. Like.
Right.
Like, because ultimately, like, what is that, like, I'm initially, for me, like, was to help the community. Like, I don't know how I feel about the resources that we offer homeless people, but a warm meal is a warm meal. And, like, I'll get you coffee or whatever, like, right? I'm not going to give you money because I don't know what you're going to do with it, right? But, like, is there something I can do to make your day a little better so you're not walking around threatening the community?
Yeah. And so let's say we breach past, like, even those initial options and it's just not working.
Okay.
And then we know, like, okay, maybe they have a warrant or something after they give us a name.
Okay.
And now it's like, oh, somebody wants this person back. And it's like either our warrant or a strong enough warrant that we're like, oh, and you kind of like, you look at me and you're like, meh, we both hear the radio traffic, and we're smart enough to have earpieces.
And so yeah. Dude,
But yeah, you know what I'm getting at. Like,
yeah.
so
At this point, when you know that you're going to be placing them into custody, it should be what you said, overwhelm them, right?
Yep.
One of my favorites, though, is Shaw overwhelms people with his verbal.
Yeah.
He displaces you so well verbally that, like, the fight's over.
it truly is one of the best gifts I've seen.
He really has it. And even though I've worked on it for a long time, my verbal is more distraction. I'm physically manipulating you, but it's distraction. Shaw can talk you into putting the cuffs on.
Yeah.
And like, that's such a gift. If you have it, if you have that kind of snake oil salesman motor mouth, you should do that. Like, that's, I mean, but so like, let's look average, right? Because that's how I always kind of view myself, like very average, right? Hey man, unfortunately, like, do you know why anybody would warrant you? Like, do you have any warrants? Like, because
you play ask them the question.
Yeah. Did you like? Is there a mix up? Like, is there something that like the courthouse?
You forget to pay your child support.
Like that, right? Like, well, unfortunately, like we're gonna have to take you in so you can sort this out. And like, as that happens, right? As I ask them the question, they like, whether they're lying to me or Mifa's like, no, that's exactly, I don't know what you're talking about. I paid all that stuff.
Right.
Like, but as I say, as I'm asking the question, they're giving me the response, whether it's a lie or whether it's the truth.
Yeah.
My hand starts to touch them.
Okay. So we make that initial
that
contact.
Moment of shoulder touching, I expect an explosion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hope my partner expects an explosion.
Yeah.
And I am pleasantly surprised when we overwhelm them through manipulation.
Yeah.
Not true. Yes, it's not. What's the word? It's not force, but it's not like.
What you're talking about is you're responding to. We've already know that they've had threatening. We already know that they've had. Let's kind of give you some mental insight. We already know that they've had some threatening behavior. We walked up. We noticed some low level resistance, like maybe some minimal non-compliance with us to our verbal commands. They haven't done exactly what we needed. So that initial contact is more about assessing the threat and responding to their already heightened behavior. So we are expecting potential explosion, but we're also ready to just gently get them into handcuffs.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, we're going to wrench them into these things. No, it's more about understanding that now, okay, we're going to get them in the cuffs. The fight could come.
Right.
And we're ready for that. But if it doesn't,
you should only the displacement, whether that's verbally or you're physically manipulating them into displacement, is such that they can't mount a good comeback. Right.
Right. Yeah. You're taking the fight away from them by physically taking them out of battery.
So
by out of battery, I mean, we're making them unathletic.
Yeah. We use baseball terms all the time. Even
though neither of us play sports.
No. Like, you said it's an inside baseball term last week.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, inside baseball, because it's like, some of the things that we're talking about are things that you may not know about unless you do what we do. So we're trying to kind of open that up and talk about the physiology, psychology of dealing with that initial contact.
Yeah. So
and a group tactics as well, because now there's two of us, so that's not a group. I know if we want to get technical, it's a duo. But
I mean, I consider it a group. But so back to like what we would do. I would hope that there's some kind of person height surface, whether it be an alley wall or maybe I don't really like using cars. There's a lot of even bounce. Plus there's a separation of where the car stops and the curb begins.
Yep.
Like I don't really like that stuff, but I like to drive people and lean them against stuff.
Yeah.
Because then you can make them weightless through pinning. You can pin their upper body, making their legs lighter, suck them out and gently ride them down the wall. Right? Where now, if you've ever worked in a cage, a lot of things are gone. It's also hard if you're sitting to suddenly dig in a pocket, right? You can't like all of a sudden tuck and dig.
And
there's compression.
To clarify, we're not talking about driving them face first into that wall.
No, I'm talking about
backing them up to a wall safely and sitting them on their butt, which
safely. It's called a crash.
Yeah.
I'm driving them into the wall, but like it's not like there's extra oomph, right? Like I'm just trying to pin them. I'm trying to pin them to the wall and make them unathletic, right? Because if your back's ramrod straight, you're not able to pivot, move, all that stuff, right? And then from there, slow things down. You got control. Let them kind of like talk their talk, and then be like, hey man, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
And then be transparent with them. I'm going to put you in handcuffs. We're going to go to the jail.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
And now you have the several
foregone conclusion. They want to talk, and then at some point you have to get a word in edgewise and tell them, I'm putting you in handcuffs.
Yeah.
And we're going to the jail.
Well, the other part of it too is you have the option once you sit them down to roll them into recovery positions if they're being violent, and then you can.
Well, I mean, before we even get to sitting down, can you sit down for me?
Yeah. Hey,
it's just safer. We'll take care of you.
I know you got upset for a second. Can you sit down for me?
That meal is still on the table.
Yeah.
We'll still go. I know jail food sucks, man. Yeah. We can go through Taco Bell on the way.
Yeah, we can.
I'll get you something.
Get you a 4-pack of nuggies.
Yeah, whatever you want, right?
To the jail.
Again, always understand, especially from what we are talking about, law enforcement, security, we are ruining somebody's day. Most likely, right? They could be their most awful day. They could be an old
pro.
Dude, the blanks that come from these,
an old saw at this game.
I almost said old thing.
You mean long in the tooth?
Something like that. I don't know. So disappointed. This show just makes me disappointed in myself.
That's all right. We're building back neural pathways, which you folks don't realize is being shocked slowly as he sits there now.
God. But like, start to ask them, right?
Yeah.
You can escalate to physical violence and control, and then de-escalate to verbal compliance, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to stay up here. You don't have to violently take them down. That's the other thing. That's experienced vets will like let the person wear themselves out and then assist them to the ground. Where you have young bucks who are like bending at the waist, grabbing legs, trying to suck. And then the old vet, you see the old, like, oh, I got to grab this head. I don't want to take him to the hospital. No. I know the cops don't care. You bring him to us anyway.
But okay, so that's kind of like a good walkthrough. I guess anything else to add?
This really went off the rails. This was not.
That's all right. That's all right. So next time we are going to get the group together, and we're going to show. It'll be fine. You'll be all right. He'll be all right.
It'll be okay.
So thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening to our ramblings. We'll see you next time.
We'll fix the technical difficulties and it'll look a lot cleaner down here because Mama Rachel's real embarrassed for you.
There's too many rugs. All you OCD people out there, you can give me hate later. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching the Steak Knife Show.